Okay, well, that was certainly cheery. Welcome, everyone, to our multi-platform service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. We are very grateful to have you all join us. For those of us joining in person, it's wonderful to have you with us. Please be sure to wear your masks throughout the service and to maintain social distancing whenever possible. During the service, for as long as you are wearing masks, you can sing along to the hymns and read along with any interpretive response readings if there are any. For those who are attending in person, you're invited to join us in the parish hall for hospitality coffee hour after the service. For those joining us online, we are certainly send special greetings to you and glad that you're with us in more than in spirit. We hope that you take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box this morning. And after service, you're all invited to a virtual coffee hour. For those joining in person, we gently remind you to please silence anything that you have on your person that might beep or make a noise or do anything that helps you, but it won't help us during the service. And now let us prepare for the morning service. And we also want to make a special note for those who possibly aren't aware. Today is Darrell's last regular service with us. So he's been... We're trying not to go there, Carolyn and Kevin. That would be an easy leap for us right about now. But the good point is that Darrell is probably going to make visits on occasion. And I'm sure he's going to, and we know that he's certainly going to here at the service in one way or another. Nothing is written in stone, but we're open to those possibilities. And he's always going to continue working with the board and the worship guild, in ways that he feels that he could still be helpful, joining us and giving us consultation information, I would say, from his vast repertoire of information and experience. I mean, it's been fabulous so far, so no reason not to continue to share, and sharing is caring, as they say. So all that is good. So let us now prepare for this morning's service.
I've been very fortunate as a Frosty the Snowman scholar to be able to go back to the original text. Much like all good biblical scholars and Supreme Court constitutional scholars, this is a copy of the book that I had when I was a little kid with my grandmother reading about Frosty. Let's see. It's like magic, said Billy and Tommy. It was Tommy who picked up the shiny top hat and put it on the snowman's head. Zing, Tommy's hand sprang back like a shock. It is magic, gasped Tommy. So it is, said a voice, a deep, chuckly voice they had never heard before, and a pleasant sort of magic, if I do say so myself.
Now it's a time for our chalice lighting, and I invite you to join me as I light the chalice, and you can find the affirmations in your order of service. Please join me as able. We light this chalice in the search for truth and the spirit of love, in worship and fellowship. As an extension of lighting our chalice, we want to take a moment of silence to light these 3 candles for the names of some of those who have been affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all the names of those affected. And today we will light a candle for the life of Latoris A. Taylor, for the life of Tavares Harrington, and for the life of Howard Johnson. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim that indeed Black lives matter. It's our first hymn for the Sunday. Please join us in singing 224, Let Christmas Come. It's in your gray manual. And Kevin will lead us in song as he does. Now it's a time in our service for joys and sorrows. If you are visiting us for the first time today or returning after a visit, feel free to use this time to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself. If that floats your boat, that would be lovely. For those gathering in person, we invite you to raise your hand and stay where you're seated, and I'll come around with the microphone and you'll introduce yourself, and we'll be looking forward to hear your joy or your sorrow. And we certainly invite you to share what is in your heart. For those joining us online, we invite you to type your chat in the joys and sorrows, and at an appropriate moment, we'll ask Ben to read whatever he has found in the chat room. And so, folks, we invite you to share your joy and sorrow, whatever it is in your heart. Do we have any today?
I'm welcoming Ruth back after COVID. My name is Sarah. I brought Malachi. Malachi hasn't been here in quite a while. He asked me in the car what the name of the service was, and I said, you might not get out of the car if I tell you. So you're gonna just have to find out. But I do say it has been a joy, Darrell, to have you here, because your services are like my favorite movies, where they start and I don't know where they're going, and I love the journey, and I really appreciate that. It's really been a lot of fun. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I also have Kirk here, who hasn't been here in a while either. Please, everyone say hello to Kirk. I don't think either one of these people are going to stand up and introduce themselves. So
Do what you got to do, Sam.
hi, Phil.
Hi, I'm Sue Flynn. And welcome, Kurt. Haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you, buddy. I just want to share with you a real tremendous joy. 2 weeks ago, my family and I celebrated my father's 94th birthday, and he's still living on his own. And we were all able to, go and have a really nice visit with him.
Are there any other joys and sorrows?
Hey, Rose.
Hi, my name is Rose. I just wanted to say, if you look around, this like the magic of Frosty. As you look around, you walk in, everything's decorated. And the reason I'm pointing it out, especially, is because it was my first time to help decorate. I had a really great time. It was a good sharing experience. The pizza wasn't bad either. And especially thank you to Kathy, and I think her name is Linda, who stayed with me because I couldn't arrange for a ride, and they stayed with me here for about an hour waiting until my ride got here. So I want to thank them on the record. That was a great thing and friendly thing to do. And that's it. I wish everyone happy holidays and good luck to our minister.
And here's Ruth.
Hi, Ruth Benson here. So I will be with you on Christmas Eve to do the service with our array of readers and the music, which will be interspersed with the readings, and we're very excited about it. We think it's going to be a wonderful service. And then recently recovered from COVID, by the way. Thank you very much. Here I am. Yay. And so I'm grateful for that. Then I will be driving to Rhode Island first thing Christmas morning, which is the time to travel on the holiday because there's nobody on the road. Sally and David are going to try that too, but not Rhode Island. Going in the other direction. So that's my joys and mixed emotions, but pretty much on the upside, I would say.
And I see Kevin over here. Yes, I had two waves, so talk among yourselves.
I think Kevin's probably going to talk to you about the concert this afternoon. But I have a job for you at the very end of the postlude, which you'll know where it ends. We're going to go, "So long, Darrell." So everybody has a part in that, please. Thank you.
Yes, I want to invite all of you. We're giving a free concert this afternoon at 2:00 at the JCC. And what a joy it is for me to put a 40-piece band together, 2 choruses, one from Staten Island, one from Brooklyn. The music is just wonderful. We've got an arrangement that takes Christmas carols and puts them in minor keys. It makes them so unusual. And it quotes certain songs like The Ride of the Valkyries, and it morphs into a Christmas carol. And the theme from, I can't remember the composer, Gounod, Right, takes that theme and leads into a Christmas carol, so it's great fun. The choruses are doing a wonderful job. They've been working for months, and it's all free. Come, and we're celebrating Christmas, and we've got a couple of Hanukkah songs, and we've got a solstice song, and a Kwanzaa song. So we're covering all the holidays. Please come, 2:00, JCC on Manor Road. Thank you.
During last week, which was my birthday week, I went to the St. George Theater with a small crew, and we got to listen to Darlene Love. Those of us who have been around for a minute and a half certainly know Darlene Love, 30 Feet from Stardom. Well, she finally hit stardom, I think. And she was fabulous. And she reminded us that she was 81 years old. So I said, not a problem. She was just absolutely fabulous and the best. So, and the St. George is a fun place to be this time of year anyway. Ben, do we have anybody? Yep.
Marilyn and Jim say they're sorry they can't be here today to give Rev.Berger the send-off he deserves. Jim's under the weather, and they want to give their thanks. Bonnie says, holiday lights, sounds, and celebrations despite these difficult times. Continued healing of my left knee, may it continue. Hearing so many good stories of people recovering well from COVID. Having Rev.Berger here said he's leaving for now.
Okay. Janet?
Hi, all this talk about people living long lives. My friend's father just turned 100 years old, and we were at her house last night, and the story she tells about him is just unbelievable. This man is 100 years old. He lives in his house, he still lives in his apartment alone right now because the wife died. And he goes out walking and like he's amazing, and I can't believe that he's 100 years old and he's going to live to who knows what, it's crazy. But I love hearing the stories about him because it's so inspirational.
Okay, we have a new goal. First it was 81, now it's 100, okay? Duly noted. Are there any other joys and sorrows today? There being none, we say thank you. And we certainly are grateful for those joys and sorrows we heard and for those perhaps that you're still holding on to. And we see Mike Stein making an entrance, which we're happy to see. Oh, and Maureen is there too. And we know that they are COVID recoverers, so it's good to see them back today. So greetings to Maureen and Mike, and we're glad that you're up and well and able to join us today. So yeah, we love you, but stay back there. So thank you all.
I have both a joy and a sorrow. And the joy is the pleasure and wonderful experience I've had returning to you guys. That's my joy. And my sorrow is that this is my last Sunday. And I won't say I won't come back, because why would you believe me if I said that? But I think there are opportunities, there are roles in the church other than minister that gets paid for work. And there's such a thing as friend of the church and advisor and consultant, until my advice and consultation becomes stale and irrelevant, and who knows when that would be. So after 100, right. But it really has been a wonderful experience. And one of the things that I've learned that you've taught me is that whatever it is that you do best and really enjoy doing, try to keep doing that. Will you join me in a moment of silent meditation? Amen. If you have never had a snowman for a friend, you can scarcely imagine all the fun those children had. For Frosty took them coasting and never had their sleds slid so swiftly and so far. Frosty helped them build a snow house and never had blocks packed so firmly and well. They all went ice skating, and the magical part was that while they were with Frosty, the children could stay out and play in the snow and never get chivalry cold. Was it Frosty's warm heart or his magical smile? Whatever it was, they thought it was just fine. May we have this morning's offering, please?
Now is the time in our service where we take an offering. We know it is the gifts of all of us that help support our ability to thrive and gather. For those attending in person, I see Randy and Sue are coming around with the collection plate, so thank you very much for that. You can mail us a check if you like, or donate through PayPal, the PayPal giving page. It's on our website, and please give as generously as you can. Our offerings are now being gratefully accepted.
On Thursday after the Christmas was, my true love and I had a fight. And so I chopped the pear tree down and burned it just for spite. Then with a single cartridge, I shot that blasted cartridge. My true love, my true love, my true love gave to me. On the second day after the Christmas was, I pulled on the old rubber roots and very gently wrung the necks of both the turtle doves. My true love, my true love, my true love gave to me. The third day after wondrous breed. The sixth day after Christmas, the sixth lane east for the play. I gave the whole darn gaggle to the ASPCA. On the seventh day, with a mess I found, all seven of us screaming swans and run. Well, actually, I got one of the dancing ladies. And send them back home. I want my true love. We are true love. And I said in so many words, for your Christmas, it's
Now we have our next hymn, and I'm going to look to clarify. Is it Deck the Halls, number 235,
Yes,
or is it something else?
Yes.
It is 235, Deck the Halls. So please join, stand if you are able, and join in the song which Kevin will lead us.
Please be seated. Christmas is a very eclectic holiday. It's what in theology is called synchronistic. You might also call it very colonial because it has appropriated symbols and meanings from all sorts of places and made it their own. The basic idea of a God that is born and dies with the season is very common throughout the world. We know this from the Roman and Greek gods. Persephone rises and falls back and forth for the underworld and so forth with the season. But one thing is that when you think about it, Christ is a reverse winter god because he's born during the wintertime and then dies in the spring. So that's kind of, that makes him sort of a winter deity. There's the three wise men, which are Zoroastrian or Persian in origin. There's the St. Nicholas, who is Greek, and good old Krampus, who is German. The tree and the mistletoe are magic symbols from Northern Europe. There was Scrooge, who's the symbol of the British Industrial Revolution. What you may not know, though, I might have even said it here before, is that Dickens was a big deal in his times. He was very famous, probably the most famous, most wide-read author in England, which made him really a big deal. And now you may remember when the Beatles were on their first tour, and who did they wanted to talk to? They wanted to talk to Bob Dylan, right? That was the main thing, right? When Charles Dickens came to America, he wanted to talk to Ralph Waldo Emerson. So that's the position of the great Unitarian transcendentalist thinker. And as you also may know, Dickens' life was basically Oliver Twist. He had a terrible, deprived life with working as child labor, and he was wondering how to help enact child labor laws in England. And he didn't quite know how. And then he went over to America and talked to Emerson and Bronson Alcott and the other transcendentalists. And he came back and wrote A Christmas Carol. I said, that's what I need to do. I need to write a story. So, but also what has also contributed to the mythology of Christmas over the years by now is American capitalism. It's a wonderful life, extolling the virtues of the savings and loan industry. The Miracle on 34th Street, Macy's versus Gimbels. I'm waiting for the remake where they do Amazon versus Walmart. And then, of course, there are the three capitalistic American images that I personally love very much: Rudolph, Frosty, and Charlie Brown. And I assure you that this will not be a Marxist critique of Christian Christmas capitalism, though there is that sermon to be done. Speaking of capitalism, who here remembers Montgomery Ward? Yeah, that kind of dates you right there, doesn't it? Yeah, Montgomery Ward. There's Montgomery Ward and Sears, right? Macy's and Gimbels. Well, what Montgomery Ward used to do was when kids would come up to visit Santa Claus in the Montgomery Ward stores, they would be given a little book, a little coloring book or something like that as a little token. And then they got an idea in 1939 that if they had their own book, they could not only, they wouldn't have to buy somebody else's book, but it would also be good publicity for Montgomery Ward's. And so they thought they would have a little book, and they thought it would be nice if it was an animal book, because Ferdinand the Bull was popular at the time. The pacifist bull, one of my favorite characters, had just recently become a short film by Disney. So they went to one of their copywriters who wrote a copy for their catalogs and their ads to see if he could knock something out for them. And they went to a guy whose name was Robert May. And I found out just this week that Robert May had been a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of Dartmouth, and he majored in psychology. And he was particularly interested in the psychology of Alfred Adler, who was developing the idea of, amongst other things, the inferiority complex. And it so happens that Robert May grew up as a very introverted, lonely person who was bullied, and he was not that much picked on. So taking that idea between something that was kind of like Ferdinand the Bull and his own story and Adlerian psychology, he came up with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The Adlerian way to overcome your inferiority complex is to use that as a strength. Now, the first year that Rudolph came out, Montgomery Ward's gave away 2 million books. 2 million books. And it was very popular with Montgomery Ward until 1941, because then there was the paper embargo during World War II. So people had kind of forgotten. They quit handing them out at Montgomery Ward's, and they kind of forgot that they had it. And it was good for Robert May that they did, because they gave him the copyright to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And he thought, well, maybe this reindeer has more legs than I think. And the first thing he did is he wrote a little book and published it about the story. And then he made a spoken word record of it, which became popular. And then he went in 1948 to his brother-in-law, whose name was Johnny Marks, and was a would-be songwriter. And Johnny Marks wrote the song of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They offered it to Crosby. He didn't want it. They offered it to Dinah Shore. She didn't want it. They offered it to Gene Autry, who was a big singing star as well as a singing cowboy at the time. He didn't want it, but his wife kind of liked the song. And so he reluctantly recorded it. And of course, it became the #1 Christmas hit of 1950. And now it's probably the single thing that Gene Autry is most remembered for until the Angels win another World Series. So that was his big hit in 1949. So it comes around to 1950. He's looking for another Christmas song. He doesn't know where to turn. Johnny Marks is going off in his own thing. He also wrote Brenda Lee's "Rockin' Round the Christmas Tree," and he wrote, this is important to this church, he wrote "Have a Holly Jolly Christmas." So he could retire off of Rudolph, no problem with that. So Gene Autry went to a country and western duo who had written songs, especially in the Texas swing mode, and wrote some hits for Eddie Arnold. And they wrote Frosty the Snowman. That was their idea. And it just kind of came where songs come from their collective unknown unconscious. But if you listen to the original Frosty, like going back to the 78 version, you can see how its origins are Texas swing. It has a chorus of fiddles and violins, the way that the Texas Playboys might have, So you can, and also thumpity thump thump thumpity thump thump. You can hear Bob Wills saying thumpity thump thump. So it was a big hit for 1950, and then they went on to write those deathless songs, Peter Cottontail and Smokey the Bear. And in 1951 came the little Golden Book, which was the one that I came across probably around 1955 or 1956. And I always thought from that book, and the cover is on the back of your order of service, that Frosty was a little scary. I don't know if it was just me. I mean, I know he was a good guy and everything, but just the way he was depicted, if you really took it seriously of what they were experiencing, if it wasn't scary, it was uncanny. It was uncanny, right? And it was written, adapted from the song by Ann North Bedford, who was really June Werner Watson. She was the original editor of Golden Books and wrote about 150 of these little books under a variety of pseudonyms. But I began to think of not only who is Frosty, we kind of know who he is, but exactly what is he? Is he a Greek or Roman god of winter? Kind of. He's kind of like Old Man Winter for children in a way. He's magical like the evergreen and the mistletoe, and he's a shape shifter like Loki, the Norse god of misrule. Because he's not evil, he's mischievous, he's carefree, kind of like a Piper of Hamelin without the rats. But what is he most like in mythology? What is he most like? I think the golem. Anybody know what a golem is? Yeah. The golem. The golem is most famous by being created by Rabbi Lowell in 16th century Prague. And the golem is a created creature made out of inert materials, usually mud or earth, that a rabbi usually can summon using Kabbalistic magic with the words, some Hebrew words and letters. And if you ever go to Prague, like their Mickey Mouse is the golem. You know, their main marketing thing is, you know, because the only big writer from Prague is Franz Kafka, and he doesn't, you know, you can get Franz Kafka t-shirts, but but the golem of Prague, and it's created to save the Jewish community from the violence of anti-Semitism. That's what the golem does. He's created and he fights the people who are the anti-Semites in the community. But something always goes wrong. He successfully vanquishes the anti-Semitism, but then the rabbi kind of loses control. And eventually the rabbi has to basically deactivate the golem and he returns again to the earth. Now, can you think of anything in modern day that is like the golem for Jews? Something that was their great salvation that has some way kind of turned against them and is out of control? Just asking for a friend. Now, it also appears to me clearly that the golem is a little bit like Frankenstein, right? And I looked all over the internet, the extent of research these days, to find some connection between Mary Shelley and the golem, and I could not find any. But it may just be that it's kind of a universal human archetype to create a superhuman figure that is uncontrollable. Sort of like AI these days. So I think that Frosty is a little like a snow golem. You know, he's for children. You know, he comes to life with the magic hat, right? The magic hat. He comes to life. He's very benevolent and so forth. But then, you know, he gets out of control in a way. He doesn't harm the children, but he goes into town and he basically plays into traffic. And the next thing you know, he's gone. And the policeman gives solace to the children at the end. But I also think that there is an additional meaning to Frosty. And that is that in reality, there's no thumpity thump thump. Frosty doesn't trundle away with the promise to return. What happens really to snowmen? The kids build Frosty, and every day after, they experience his melting away. And since there is no inner life to Frosty or the golem, all the loss of that sorrow is borne by the Creator. And it's only suggested that the sorrow that the children must feel in Frosty going away. But I felt it myself several years ago. It was Christmas time and I was living south of Boston, and a friend of mine from college was coming to visit who'd only lived in Kentucky, Tennessee, and California. And he'd never built a snowman. And he happened to be visiting right around Christmas time when we had a nice snowman type snow. And we built a snowman that was probably, 4 foot high, not a huge one, but it was definitely there. And we did the carrot. I forget what we did for the eyes. Maybe it was coal, but we had 2 branches for the arms. And during a period for the rest of the winter, I watched that snowman go from this position to And it came from a sort of a crucifix position to a pietà. That's what it looked like to me. And that's the Passion of Frosty. You know, the Passion of Christ is that time from his trial to the death and resurrection. And the Passion of Frosty is after he's built, the process of melting away. And there's an kind of empty poignancy to watching a snowman melt away. It's an avatar of loss and but a promise of return. There's a photo somewhere in my unorganized collection of family photos of my father and I proudly next to a snowman that is as big as my father. And I could not have been more than 5 or 6 years old, but I remember rolling the biggest snowball I've still ever rolled in my life. And I could not have done it alone. I definitely needed my father's help. And that's where we went wrong. We didn't have a top hat. We didn't have a top hat. We had whatever hat we had, but we had the coal and the carrot and everything. And he had a broom. He had a broomstick. And we were so proud in that. And I was so impressed with my father that he could do such a thing and that he was strong enough to make that snowman and artistic enough to sculpt it. And the snowman was gone in a season. And my father was gone about 30, 40 years after that. I'm hoping for some snow when my grandchildren come to visit next week. So maybe I can build a snowman with them. That's how Frosty returns. Heraclitus said you can't step into the same river twice, and you can't build the same snowman twice. But you can build other snowmen on other occasions, and that snowman will be of the same substance as all snowmen and have the same creation cycle of all snowmen. And maybe now not even be snowmen, but snow people. To teach the same lessons of joy about not caring how cold it is, but just the joy of sharing with other people. So Frosty is very different from his creator, but also a bit the same, just like Jesus. Thumpity thump thump. Frosty's gone away. Thumpity thump thump. He'll be back again someday. May we join in our closing hymn, number 239.
Shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth
rang out the angel chorus that hailed the baby's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. In the lonely manger, the humble babe was born, and God sent us salvation that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
I invite you to join me in extinguishing our chalice, and you can find the affirmation for that in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. For these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Frosty the Snowman had to hurry on his way, but he waved goodbye, saying, "Don't you cry. I'll be back again someday." Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, look at Frosty go. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, over the hills of snow.
Goodbye, never felt so long. Never, we're so sad you couldn't stay with us for long. We're back in hell. Darrell, can you tell? Darrell, have a blue Christmas without you. Will be so blue thinking about you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same if you're not here to see. When you're at home, dressed in your sneakers, we'll be frantically looking for speakers. You'll be doing all right, make your Christmas of white. But we'll have a blue, 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 blue Christmas.
The first Christmas song I remember is a 78 version of Blue Christmas by Ernest Tubb. And if that's not torturing a kid, I don't know what is. Thanks very much.
Yay. Yay. 3 cheers for Darrell. Hip, hip, hooray. Good cheers. Well, so ends our service. So, come on in to the parish hall for some hospitality and some cheer. I think Randy has got things organized well in hand, as he does on a regular basis. So come on back to the parish hall for some hospitality.